Hello and welcome back to the American Experience. We have a great show for you today. A great show. Our featured story will, of course, be the situation in Venezuela, as well as the situation in Iran, as well as also potentially maybe another topic I want to talk about. But most likely, Venezuela and Iran will be the main thing we'll be talking about. Before I begin the show, let me remind you that click that like button, click that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. It helps the channel out, and also it's just like a nice thing you can do. It's easy, helps the channel out, and it motivates me to make other great content. As you can see, I changed our content thing a bit. This is the first time I've ever done kind of like a gaming thing, and so now I'm just playing some Slice Master on Cool Math Games, and that's just, to keep you guys visually enjoyed, enraptured with the show, while you hear my awesome take on the world's events. So, of course, if we're going to talk about the Venezuela and Iran thing, let's just start with Iran, because that's kind of, we've been there forever. I just have really two things to say about Iran. Number one, it's not our business. It's in the Middle East. It's not our business to be over there. And for those of you who don't know what's going on in Iran, basically there's a rebellion right now. Kind of a rebellion against the Islamic government in Iran, and it seems that a lot of cultural Muslim Iranians, maybe Christian Iranians, or just Iranians in general who don't like their government are rebelling against it. And it's not our business to be over there. I mean, hey, all I'm going to say is best of luck to the Iranian people. I wish them the best of luck. But it's not our business to be in the Middle East, so I don't think it's our business to at all be involved in helping the rebels out, helping anyone out over there. It's just, there's no reason to be over there. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I know some people might be like, but we should go over there and help them because they're fighting tyranny, and, that's kind of, it'd be cool if they got a king again and all that, a Shah. And I just disagree with that. I don't think so. It's kind of irrelevant in my opinion. Iran's just so far away. It's in the Middle East. We don't know the politics over there. And every time we have been in Iran, because we have been in Iran before, we've really just screwed them up. People forget this, but we've been in Iran messing their politics up for years. Back in the 50s, when Iran had a democratically elected government, we went in there and overthrew them for the benefit of the British and Iranian oil company, because the Iranian government, which was democratically elected, was nationalizing the oil. And also because we wanted a friendly government over there to stop the expansion of the Soviet Union. And so the US government, thinking that nationalizing one aspect of industry is socialist, decided it was within our best of interest to go and get into Iranian politics and overthrow that democratically elected government. And instead, we put in a puppet state led by the former Shah of Iran. He was there for around 20 years, and he was, I don't know what you would say. I mean, he was definitely not a religious Muslim, which a lot of Iranians were, and things went well until the oil crash of 1975, when Iran no longer had, when the price of oil went down, and it really screwed up their economy, and then the Iranian people rebelled against the Shah, led by the father of Iran's modern religious leader, the Ayatollah. And basically they rebelled and created an Islamic Republic, and now it seems like they're rebelling to create a democratic republic over there. And I just don't think we need to get involved. We've been over there. We screwed them up before. We don't need to screw anything up again. And that sort of thing. I think we are over there, if I'm going to be honest. Just knowing that the U.S. has been, and the CIA has historically been in Iran, trying to foment rebellions against various governments and all that, like that democratically elected government. I wouldn't be surprised if we were over there, and we were trying to start their rebellion. So I wouldn't be surprised if the elements of the CIA were working on overthrowing the Iranian government, the Iranian regime, Islamic regime, and all that. I also wouldn't be surprised if Mossad was over there, which is Israel's intelligence agency, because they have a history of kind of doing that, of being in Iran. And as we saw over Operation, what was it, Rising Line or something this summer when they bombed Iran's nuclear facilities, that 12-day war, they successfully managed to smuggle in quite a few operatives into Iran successfully. And given that fact, I would not be surprised if Israel managed to get involved, managed to sneak more people into Iran and to foment an insurrection against the Iranian leaders. So that's just my spin on Iran. Just two things, very basic. But now we're going to get into Venezuela, and this is something a bit new. I'll probably post a link in the description below about just a news story about Maduro, or just about Venezuela, how we took Maduro out. If you guys don't know, a couple days ago, this past, I believe, Saturday, U.S. operatives, particularly the Delta Force and I think the Air Force, helped take out Maduro. The Air Force launched strikes. U.S. Navy and Air Force did airstrikes on Venezuela. And while that chaos was unfolding, U.S. Delta Force snuck in and kidnapped the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, along with his wife. And right now, it seems like Maduro is in New York, and he's going to stand trial for some gun law he broke in the 70s. So that's just kind of the spin on Venezuela, a very quick spin. But obviously, as soon as it happened, Donald Trump, President of the United States of America, then said America might run Venezuela, and a lot of Americans were opposed to that. As well as Trump stated that we took it probably because of oil. And so a lot of people are kind of ticked off about that, understandably so. They're saying, do we need to be involved in Venezuela, particularly if it's just for the oil companies? And that's a good question to ask, is why are we in Venezuela? And obviously Trump on the U.S. government has said to the public that it's over drugs that come from Venezuela, but we all know most drugs don't come from Venezuela. They come from Mexico or Colombia. So it appears to be that Venezuela, we're in Venezuela not for drugs, but for some other reason, probably oil. And when we discuss oil, we should discuss a big part of the oil thing, in my opinion, where people are claiming that we're in Venezuela because of the oil, which is kind of obvious. Venezuela has a ton of oil. But I actually don't think that's it. I think there's a deeper reason why we're involved in Venezuela. And I think we do need to understand that. So let me explain. The US dollar is known as the petrodollar. Well, actually, we should first explain what's going on with Venezuela and why we would need to be there for their oil. Obviously, back when Hugo Chavez, the old president of Venezuela, took over, he nationalized all the oil in Venezuela under one government company, and the American oil companies don't like that because there's a ton of oil in Venezuela. But of course, I think there's a deeper reason, which has to do with our dollar, of course, and so I'll get into that. The U.S. dollar is also known as the petrodollar, and the reason why it's called the petrodollar is because it's basically based off of, it's the dollar for that most of the world's community trades when they're trading oil. So when the Saudi Arabia sells oil to, let's just say, Syria, I don't know if they do or not, but let's just say they did, they would use it using American dollars. And of course, that's been the system since at least probably the 50s or so, when the U.S. government forced a lot of Middle Eastern countries and a lot of other countries in the world to trade in the U.S. dollar, because of course we were like the world's leading superpower at that point, and we were the most economically powerful one, because the Soviet Union just really wasn't that much of a powerhouse. So we, of course, forced the other countries to use our dollar, and our dollar's worth is then based off the fact that people were using our dollar to trade oil, which is, of course, one of the world's most used commodities. Here's the issue, is that that's kind of the only reason why our dollar's worth anything. So if you guys didn't know, our dollar is based off of debt. I'll get into that in an episode about the Federal Reserve and currency and monetary policy. But that's basically it. Our dollar is based off of debt. It's created out of debt. It is literally insured by debt. That's just how it works. And so it's not actually based off of any tangible thing, which of course is an issue because that just means that it can just be inflated to no end because it's not actually based off of anything substantial, which other countries don't like because, well, why are you going to use a dollar if it can just be inflated? Now, the reason why countries still use the US dollar, of course, is because of the petrodollar to some degree. Because our dollars, we force other countries to trade oil with it, our dollar still has a ton of worth, and that's why people still trade with the US dollar. It's like a leading world currency. It's one of the most used currencies in the world, more than other currencies that are higher, like the euro or the British pound, which are used more and which are used less and actually are worth more because they're not inflated to the same extent that the US dollar is. Now, of course, the problem with the petrodollar is that it only works if other countries actually trade oil with the US dollar. And as soon as countries start trading without the US dollar, they start trading oil without it, that causes a problem and weakens our dollar. What does weakening our dollar mean? Well, it means this. If our dollar is weakened, it could potentially mean a run on the debt. It could also mean Americans just wake up and the financial situation in America gets really bad. If that's the case, Americans will start asking questions about our monetary system. The people in charge can't have that happen because if Americans started asking questions about our monetary policy, they would quickly learn that our dollar is based off of debt, which benefits our financial and political class because then they're just able to spend to no oblivion. But it doesn't benefit us, of course, because it just means our dollar can be inflated till like forever. So, of course, our elites do not want the American people to learn that our dollar is basically worthless. And so they want to continue up the little like fraud scheme they have, which is they want people to continue using the US dollar so that no one actually ends up asking questions about the dollar at all. And believe me, last time people did ask questions about our banking system, which was the 2008 financial crisis, it made them look really, really bad. And they don't want that to happen again. So they want no one to question why our monetary system's based off of debt. And to make sure no one questions it, everything just needs to run smoothly. No major hiccups have to happen to make people question things. So, of course, this means This means they have to make sure other countries continue trading in the petrodollar, our dollar. They have to make sure that countries keep on trading using the US dollar when they trade oil, or else the dollar won't be worth anything. So they force other countries. Now, the problem is when other countries start trading with dollars, with money other than the US, it does weaken our dollar. And so that's what was happening in Iran. Surprise, surprise, surprise. In Iran, that's what was happening in Venezuela. In Venezuela, the Venezuelan government was starting to sell oil to the Chinese, to the Russians, to the Iranians, without using the US dollar. This weakened the US dollar system, especially as other countries saw it and questioned whether the US dollar should still be traded. Of course, our elites didn't like that, so as the theory goes, they went to invade Venezuela to prevent that trading. I think it's a pretty good theory, in my opinion. I think it's very well factually based. Whether it's true or not is a completely different story, but it's very convincing, and not only that, it's pretty factual. The basis for the theory is. So I think that's actually probably what's happening in Venezuela as we invaded it to preserve the petrodollar, to make sure that no one ends up asking questions about the way our money is created, which is via debt and means an inflation, which only creates problems for America. So that's kind of what's going on with Venezuela and Iran. I probably will just leave it there. Besides that, with Venezuela, we'll just talk a bit about what the left has been saying. Naturally, the left has kind of just been saying normal stuff. They've been saying, well, we shouldn't be in Venezuela because the oil companies are going to exploit it for oil. I'm just going to debunk that. It's going to be way better off without socialism and Maduro. Just because I disagree with us being in Venezuela just to preserve our petrodollar, that doesn't mean I'm not against. That doesn't mean I'm not against Maduro being taken out of power. He was he was socialist. I'm not a fan of socialism. The Venezuelan people will do better without socialism. That's just a fact. Socialism has never worked. I don't care if you try to run the age-old arguments in the comment section below, and you try to be like, well, actually did, or, oh, that's just a CIA propaganda, but it's just true. It's never worked, and it will continue to never work because it's a flawed system. I'll have a video coming up about that. I'll have an episode coming up about that in a few episodes, why socialism just fails. But regardless, it's better for the Venezuelan people. They'll probably get a nice job with some oil company, and that'll happen. So the left, of course, is marching in the streets right now, all about how it's evil that Venezuela's taken over, and of course, it's like, okay, bro, like, really? You think it's bad for them? And that sort of thing. There's other theories. People are saying they didn't have a central bank before the war. Now they're going to most likely have a central bank put in, which means more power over to the bankers. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I don't really know. Really, the big question when it comes to Venezuela is this: should we be involved over there? So I kind of explained why we're involved over there. Either it's just because of oil outright, or it's because of the petrodollar. But the deeper question is, should we just be involved over there? Now, the third theory of why we're over there is something different. It's about the Monroe Doctrine. Monroe Doctrine is U.S. policy written in the 1820s, where basically the U.S. government stated no foreign powers should ever be no foreign powers should ever be involved in North and South America. It was basically created at a time when in South and Central America, you had the Mexican Revolution against Spain. You had other revolutions against Portugal and Spain. And basically they were rebelling against, for the most large part, Spain. And these countries were, these former colonies of Spain were fighting for independence. And so when the U.S. wrote that document, they were saying, hey, these countries are weak. They just declared independence. They don't have a lot of power. We know other powers may try to come in again and retake them. We're going to say no. We're going to stick up for these little countries, and we're going to say no. If you want to mess with them, you have to mess with us first. And then to put power into that statement, the British government also decided to support the Monroe Doctrine and basically also said to the U.S. government, to the world's governments, yeah, this is official policy. If you start taking over other countries if you start taking countries over in the South America and Central America, we will beat you up with our awesome Navy. And that prevented other countries from invading these South American and Central American republics, which of course were failed enterprises regardless. But hey, it's nice to dream of it, right? So anyways, that what was written then. And then it kind of also set a precedent for us to get involved in South America, for us to get involved during the Cold War, whenever communism came, because the Soviet Union, of course, would back communist rebels, and that's why we supported opposing regimes across South America. We supported the Contras in Nicaragua. We supported non-communists in Guatemala. We supported, or non-socialists, just that kind of thing. We did that. We did the same in Venezuela. We did the same in Cuba and that sort of thing. It didn't really work out super well because the native people there just really were sick of their old regimes, and communism just seemed that good to them, so they decided they wanted to be communists. But of course, we were still involved over there. We were involved with Panama and that sort of thing. And then we kind of stopped being involved over there, while Russia and China kind of got more involved with Venezuela, especially. We just kind of ceased caring, and now Trump seems to care again, so he went around and basically, with his invasion of Venezuela, he said no longer will any foreign powers in the Americas have be involved in here anymore. We will take over Venezuela, of course, and we did. So that's just kind of that. If I explained it well, basically, just a little crash course. We invaded Venezuela because China was involved over there, and according to the Monroe Doctrine, the U.S. can't allow that, so we decided that was what's going to happen. Much to maybe to our detriment, maybe not. I don't know. But I can say this, which is, it could be bad. It could be bad. And the reason why I say that is because if we're involved over there, and if, let's say, the Venezuelan people get sick of us over there for some reason, and we end up in a forever war, that would suck. Now, it doesn't appear to be. The military operation we did to take out Maduro was really clean, and that's good. But with all things being considered, it would kind of suck if we did get into a forever war over there. I don't think so, though. The bigger problem is how we're trying to play empire. And I know some people on the modern America First right think it's kind of okay to do that. And I understand the arguments for it, which is we need to, America is our sphere of influence. We should be in control of it. I understand why that's being said. At the same time, I do question whether that's a good policy or not. Because, put it this way, it costed a decent amount of money to attack Maduro. And after we took Maduro out, Trump has been saying that we might go into Colombia, we might go into Mexico, we might take Greenland. If that's the case, we will not only have to spend money to take those countries or to clean them up, but additionally, we will have to spend money annually just to make sure there's even security forces there to make sure everything's going to our wishes, which could be an issue because that's costly. That adds up after a while. And we can already see this. Trump asked the Pentagon for a $1.5 trillion, or Trump asked Congress, for a $1.5 trillion war budget. And that seems to say that Trump may want to invade other countries, which could be an issue. So just saying that out there. If we go around, we do decide to play empire, there's going to be issues with that. Number one, maybe the people we invade don't want to play empire. Number two, maybe drug cells here that are from those countries that are cartel dominated, they might decide to attack us here and do a terror attack. That would suck. But more importantly, we're like $38 trillion in debt, or something like that. Maybe we're in 40 trillion now. And we really can't afford to keep on playing empire, because otherwise, eventually the debt's going to get too big, and it's all going to fall. There's going to be a run-on. We're going to default on the debt eventually, and what that's going to mean is massive financial crisis for American citizens, and that's going to be a problem. So, if that does happen, because we have been playing empire for not only these years, but also prior years, that's going to be an issue, And I'm just saying that. Like Rome fell and they were an empire. If there's something I've always noticed, countries that go big end up becoming like really, really small or end up just collapsing, right? Rome, really small country at first. They just had all of Italy, just Rome itself, and then eventually a ton of Italy. And they ended up collapsing big time. Barbarian invasions, all of that. Great Britain owned so much land that the sun never set on any of its territories, as the saying goes. And yet they fell the hardest. Like, they're basically irrelevant in the modern political sphere. Like, they're really not relevant anymore. And that's because they got so big. If you realize some countries that never got big, yeah, they're still irrelevant, but they're just working fine. Look at Switzerland, for example, or Liechtenstein, or Andorra, or Monaco. They're very small countries, I know, but they've just been running fine, and that's because they've just decided to just continue being small countries. And, they'll probably be cruising around in 200 to 300 years when the U.S. doesn't exist anymore, and they'll just always exist. Like, Switzerland has been around for 400 years or something like that, and nothing much has really changed. I say that as an American. So, Venezuelans will people from Switzerland, if they're watching the video, I understand it. I'm not Swiss. Probably big changes for you guys, but for Americans, it just seems like you guys have just always been in one geographical location, and you've just never had any big issues like we are facing here in America. So, that's just kind of the thing is, do we want to get involved in Venezuela? We're going to expand. We're going to get more oil, which could bring oil prices down. At the same time, though, hey, that might increase the national debt. And if it does, that could mean economic suicide, financial and economic suicide for maybe ourselves or maybe our children or grandchildren in the future, right? So we just have to ask ourselves that question: is it worth it? Is it worth it to invade Venezuela? Is the short-term benefits worth it, or should we think long-term and maybe not do this? just my little two thoughts. Just my 2 cents about this whole thing. But yeah, that's kind of my whole situation. That's kind of my whole thing on what's going on in Venezuela and Iran. We're coming to near the end of the show. I like to keep these under 30 minutes for my producers. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys liked the video. It was kind of rough because I was just trying to figure out how to share screen and play a game while also yapping. But I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys like the new format where I just play a dumb little game and that sort of thing while I do this. As usual, as always, click that I don't know what I just said. Click that likes button and that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Drop a comment in the comment section below. I want to see if you agree or disagree with what I said. As always, I'm on the air consistently, about bi-monthly. I have an episode out or so. And yeah, I hope you like the show. Till next time, stay safe, stay free. This is the American Experience, broadcasting out of the greatest country on God's green earth. America first. Until next time, have a good one, folks.